Hello everyone, back tuning into today's video. We're going to have a look at the Heatwave, of course, later on in the video. We're going to start off having a look at the CFS V2 for July. Got some interesting signals for July, maybe a little bit mixed, in fact, in terms of the signals that we could be looking at going through into the month. The longer range models we're going to start off with looking quite good, but the shorter range models maybe hinting at something a bit cooler and a little bit more unsettled next week. So we'll have a look at the charts on all of that in a moment. But before I get on with that, just to say about the ads, there's links to our articles on all the pages at gasworks.com. Have a browse through widget, you have to pay the website. Thanks very much for doing that. There is going to be a risk of thunderstorms this week, particularly focused on tomorrow and then later on Friday. We'll have a look at the detail on thunderstorms on Stormwatch later on this afternoon. So come back for that later on this afternoon if you want to know what could be happening with the storms. I won't really have time to focus on the thunderstorm risk in this video, but it is time to start getting Stormwatch going for this one. Anyway, hopefully it'll end up a little bit more interesting in terms of the thunderstorms than the last time we enacted Stormwatch a couple of weeks ago, which did turn into a little bit of a fiasco, let's be honest. Right, let's start off with the CFS V2 then. These are 500 millibar heights broken down into weekly periods. We've got the first weekly period going from the 29th of June through to the 5th of July. As you know, with 500 millibar heights, red normally extrapolates to high pressure and green extrapolates to low pressure. There is one other model, the Brazilian long range model, that flips that around. It's completely different. It always catches me out on that one, but generally on a 500 millibar height chart, red is high pressure, green and blue will be low pressure. So what we see for the coming week is that ridge of high pressure is in there across many central, northern and western parts of Europe. The low pressure is in the Atlantic. There is some northern blocking as well, so it's quite interesting to get sort of a hot, settled pattern with that much northern blocking over Greenland. Quite an unusual situation coming up this week, but there you go. Where he's always doing something different, always catching us out a little bit. So even though we've got extensive northern blocking, we have got this mid-latitude high pressure across Europe, and that's what's going to give us the heat wave. The flow is going like this, which draws up that hot air from the south, and that lifts the temperatures, of course, into hot or very hot categories across many parts of central, northern, western Europe. Now, as we go through to the next week, this is going from the 6th to the 12th of July. What we see with this one is that the ridge is still really dominant. It's a little bit further north, perhaps going more towards southern Scandinavia and the Baltic. So that could allow this low pressure to come in a little bit further. But overall, the flow is still going rather like that. So whilst the jet stream could be a bit closer, it may be a little bit more unsettled, particularly in the north and the western, north and west of the country. Overall, that's still probably a relatively settled and quite warm scenario going up to the 12th of July. Now, as we run through to the next weekly period, we find the 500 millibar heights sort of building in right over the top of the country. So this is implying we're going to have a very warm and settled July, actually, what we're seeing here from the CFS V2, the above average heights right in over the top of the country, almost centred over the top of the UK. So obviously you're going to be very settled with that, and probably a lot of dry weather coming through as well. That takes up to the 19th of July. And then finally going through to the 26th of July, high pressure is still in, above average height still in, but maybe signs of retrogression here, with the centre of the high perhaps going more towards southern Greenland and out into the mid-Atlantic, and this trough is beginning to develop over the north of Scandinavia. So while still a lot of dry and settled weather, I think the jet stream is probably coming back in a bit more with that, and maybe going something like that. So that could be turning cooler and more unsettled through the final 10 days or so of July. But certainly the first half of the month looks really quite warm and dry on that sort of pressure distribution that we've been looking at. And there may be signs of changes, something cooler and more unsettled as we go through the final week to 10 days. Perhaps that's a very long way off though, so I wouldn't be too sure about that. But temperature anomalies are looking like this. So the first week, the coming week, 29th of June to 5th of July, really warm, hot conditions across not just UK but most parts you can see over here. Many parts of Central Europe actually going off a scale in terms of the heat that's coming up. As we go through to the next week period, this goes from the 6th to the 12th of July, again warmer than average temperature anomalies through the country, perhaps not quite as extreme as we're looking at during the coming week, not quite as hot, but nevertheless still well above average temperature anomalies going up to the 12th of July. And then the next week, from the 13th to 19th, is when the high pressure is right in over top of the country, absolutely slap bang over us. And again, temperature anomaly is much warmer than ours. A very warm July coming up, if this is right. And that warmth goes on actually into the 20th to the 26th. This period where we've got hints of retrogression, and I thought maybe it could be turned a little bit cooler and more unsettled. But the temperature anomaly is still holding up very, very well there. So we are looking at a very hot July, really, if this is right. I've got the July month-ahead forecast to do probably on Thursday. It'll be interesting to see whether we do go for a warmer than average July. Certainly going to be starting off way above average for the first week, so already it will take quite a lot to bring that temperature anomaly down for the rest of the month anyway. But yeah, we'll do July month-ahead forecast on Thursday, and I think it will be quite an interesting one. Now, having seen all that, you'll not be surprised to see that the temperature anomaly for the coming week, going from the 30th of June through to the 8th of July, is going to be significantly above average. There we are in the red colours. Central Europe actually going up to temperature anomalies of 8 to 10 degrees above average, can you believe? So really, really hot. I think we'll be seeing records broken across parts of France, Low Countries, Belgium, Holland, maybe Denmark, maybe parts of Germany, particularly Western Germany. Certainly local records in Western Germany, I would think, likely to be tumbling. So yeah, it's going to be a really noteworthy spell of hot weather coming up over the coming week for many central and western parts of Europe. Now, if one place is warm, another place is going to have the cool temperature anomalies. It looks like a big cool plunge is coming up for central parts of Russia. That's where the blue colours have gone over towards Russia for the coming week, whereas the west of Europe is pretty warm. Fairly cool temperature anomalies down in the southeast of Europe as well. This is the high-resolution Euro 4 chart from website Weather Online. If I'm linked to Weather Online on the links page. These are the 850 HPA temperature up in the upper atmosphere. This is for tomorrow. You can see that quite widely England and Wales is going up to sort of 18, 19, 20, 21 degrees at 850 HPA in the upper atmosphere. That's really hot air coming up from the south. We don't see 20 Celsius at 850 millibars that often. So quite a rare event taking place actually tomorrow. This is the temperatures that the Euro 4 model is predicting. Remember, this is the high-resolution model from the UK Met Office, and BBC forecasts are based on this. So the red colours there are across many central, east and southeast parts of England. It's seeing temperatures widely up to around 30, 31, that's sort of 88, 90 Fahrenheit. It's suggesting 33 down across London, that's 92 Fahrenheit. I think we have got a chance of going to 34 or 35 degrees in the southeast tomorrow. Somewhere like Heathrow could get up to around 35. That's 95 Fahrenheit. The all-time July record is 36 point something. I'm not quite sure what the exact July record is, but it is 36 point something set, I think, in 2006. That could be under threat. I would think we're most likely to see a maximum around 35, but obviously it's only got to go another degree, and the all-time July record will be under threat. The all-time record, and I talked about this with Quantum in the live event on Sunday, the all-time record is 38.5 degrees, set in August 2003. 38.5 is over 100 Fahrenheit, around 101 Fahrenheit. I don't think we're going to break that. That I don't think is under threat. But the July all-time record from 2006 could just about be under threat, but I would be surprised if we do. I think 35 will be as high as we go. Here's the upper air temperatures from the GFS. Also, it's just another way really seeing the 850 temperatures. Just looked at them from the Euro 4. This is how the GFS sees things down 20 Celsius isotherm or 20 Celsius at 850 HPA. Temperatures are in across the south and southeast through the course of tomorrow. GFS seeing a very hot day coming up, at least up to 31 or 32. These normally undercut the temperatures a bit, so again this does suggest 34 or 35 is a possibility tomorrow, going into be mid 90s Fahrenheit. If you don't like the heat, you're going to have a slightly cooler day on Thursday, and the heat will reload on Friday. And if you want to get rid of the heat properly, you're going to have to wait into the second half of the weekend. Saturday could be another pretty hot day, but eventually things will start to cool down. So this is the GFS chart for Saturday. Low pressure is still out to west, but high pressure is still ridging through to the east, still bringing up these hot southerly winds off the continent. So another baking hot day likely on Saturday, particularly in the east and the southeast of the country. But as we go through to Sunday, a cooler push will come in off the Atlantic. Could be thunderstorms Friday, Saturday, but as this cooler push comes in, actually it's not looking that thundery, probably just a weak cold front coming across the country, you can see, but by 6 o'clock in the morning on Sunday, significantly cooler air is coming in from the west, pushing that heat away into the North Sea and central parts of Europe. It will still be warm on Sunday. We'll still be seeing temperatures up in toward the mid-20s, but nowhere as hot as it's likely to be through the middle and last days of this week, and possibly again on Saturday. As we go beyond that into next week, it looks very high pressure will try to establish to the southwest, but low pressure is sort of coming in weakly from the Atlantic. So it's a little bit of a mixed bag what's happening next week. It could turn a bit more unsettled and slightly cooler as well. This is the GFS chart for the middle of next week, Wednesday the 8th of July. And the high pressure is centred across northern Scotland, the low pressure should say, centred across northern Scotland. And cooler air is coming in from the north and west at this point, although by day 10, which is Friday the 10th of July, the Azores high is trying to re-establish again down into the south. So I'd say next week is likely to be cooler, but could still be warm at times, and we're likely to have some rain, probably in the north and west, with mostly dry conditions in the south and the southeast. The ECMWF finally, again, a hot day coming up for Saturday. It turns cooler on Sunday, so if you want a proper cooler push, you're going to have to wait for Sunday. That's when temperatures will drop, but still warm down in the south. As we go through into next week, again, we've got low pressure out to the west. That could bring some quite wet weather into Scotland and Ireland, but pressure's trying to remain relatively high down south, so I'll be surprised if there's much rain getting through to the south. The most unsettled conditions are likely in the north. As we go through into the middle and last stages of next week, the ECMWF actually pulling winds down from the north, so as the GFS was trying to build that ridge up to the south and perhaps try to introduce hotter weather by the 10th of July. The ECMWF wants to keep the Azores high out to west and bring down these northerly winds. They're actually very cool. So we go from sort of heat wave to below average temperatures by the end of next week. The upper air temperatures showing really quite cool air for July coming down across the country. So it's all a little bit uncertain. I started the video where we started. It's a bit uncertain actually what's going on for July. We've got the CFS V2, which is looking like it's trying to give us a classic hot month really. Certainly up to around the 20th anyway, and then maybe question marks after that. Whereas these shorter range models are rather mixed for next week. GFS isn't too bad, but it is cooler and could be more settled to the north. And the ECMWF actually manages to go really very cool indeed by the time we get through to the end of next week. So we're going to have to wait and see on that. But as I say, I've got the July month ahead forecast to do on Thursday. That could be a bit of a tricky one with what these charts are showing. But the heat is on this week anyway. The heat wave is in for today. It's starting today. It's probably going to peak for the whole of the period tomorrow, where we could go maybe to 35 degrees around London, 95 Fahrenheit, a little bit cooler for Thursday, and then the heat reloads Friday and into Saturday. There will be thunderstorm risk with this hot weather, and if you want to know more on that, come back to Stormwatch later when I'll try, always very difficult to pin down thunderstorms, but I'll try to pin down what's going on with the storms. That's it for now, and thanks for watching.